lastly, coming towards drawing up similarities between Mexican American families and Pakistani families, I feel like there's a lot of similarities in how our families are structured over here. You know, we have big families, joint families. We like celebrating together. We like doing everything together, and weddings. Big, huge weddings, you know. In Pakistan, if somebody has a small wedding, people are offended. They're like, that's it? Just 100 people? Usually people go for like 300, 400, 500 people over here because everybody wants to attend a wedding. And honestly, people want everybody to be involved in your happy occasions as well. So what is it like there in Mexico? Because from Pakistani perspective, like I said, you know, people over here mostly still live in joint family systems. And it's obviously a good opportunity to have generational knowledge in the same household, or your kids to grow up with their grandparents and aunts and uncles. So what's your perspective on this? How is it in Mexico?
I'll speak a little bit to both Mexico and the experience of immigrants, because my parents and my grandparents, when they lived in Mexico, there wasn't really a choice about whether or not you could pull away from some of the traditions and there wasn't really a choice about how many people came to the wedding. Everyone came to the wedding. You were going to have food for 500 people or you didn't get married. So, you know, you were going to have to do whatever it took because everyone was coming. And there were all of these obligations and all of these roles that were built into your position as a son or as a brother or as a husband or as whatever place you were in life.
Yeah.
There were family expectations.
Exactly.
And those both limited you in some ways, but they also shaped you and defined you and gave you your identity. When you have the first and second generations that are growing up in the US, there's always this effort by the older generations to try to keep the family together.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's a huge struggle because you no longer have the limitations of resources. You can now go wherever you want. You can live in New York, you can live in Chicago, you can live in Miami, you can
wherever you find better opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, or sometimes people actually don't want to be confined by the family roles and they don't want to be confined by the expectations. And so sometimes it's economic opportunities, educational opportunities. Sometimes it's just a desire to kind of go out and be independent. And so it's really difficult in the United States sometimes to maintain these traditions. I think that the families that are the most successful are the ones that have been able to not just communicate the tradition itself, like, oh, we're going to have a wedding or we're going to have a quinceañera. Quinceañera is it's a very interesting kind of sort of European debutante type event that every young woman, when she hits 15, she has this quinceañera party. Quinceañera means a female of 15 years of age. And it's this huge party, and she dresses up in this giant like Disney princess gown. And everybody comes and like pins money to her gown, and it's sort of like
it's her Disney princess moment, basically.
It is. The families that are able to communicate consistently why family is important, not just as an obligation, but also as a source of strength, I think those families do a lot better. I tend to see them doing better in less urban areas. I think urban families struggle the most with this because there are more things that pull them away.
Yeah.
And so, you know, our best parties and our best weddings and our best quinceañeras are still, you know, especially for some of my family that lives in Texas or in Florida or Kansas, they're still able to kind of hold it together and maintain some of the richness that our ancestors enjoyed in Mexico. But weddings are fun. I mean, it's all out there. Yeah. This whole thing of I watch movies sometimes, rom-coms, where the groom and the bride are debating about who's going to come to the wedding, and there's no
debating
or the seating chart. I like seating chart.
Everybody sits wherever they want.
You sit where you want, including the floor and wherever there's space. That's where you sit. It's that kind of raucous, sort of slightly chaotic event that actually I think helps feed the sense of belonging to a place and belonging to a community. And there are places that are able to preserve that, but there are definitely for the experience for immigrants in the U.S., it's quite different because there's a challenge to be managed there that doesn't even cross people's minds.
And when you were explaining all of this, I could consistently see the similarities that the both of our cultures have, and especially the role of the family. Before going, I want you to share a few superstitions from Mexico. I know there's a lot of superstitions and taboos in each society, in each culture. For example, in Pakistan, we have a few superstitions like a black cat. If you come across a black cat, it means bad luck, right? But this is, I think, more universal. Another thing is that you're not supposed to cut your nails on a Friday. You're not supposed to wash your hair on a Sunday, I believe it's something like that. Don't go from underneath a ladder. All of these kind of superstitions. Do you guys have any superstitions in Mexico that you find still funny to this day?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about superstitions because those vary greatly by region. And so a lot of the ones that you described are known in Mexico. More than superstitions, what I think is kind of funny about Mexican culture, what I was exposed are the fairy tales and the kids' stories.
Yeah.
They are horrible. they're like
scary.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the Germanic kids' stories where, you know, almost in every single one of them, the kids end up getting eaten or killed or drowned or something. And a lot of Mexican kids' stories are the same way. There's just a lot of desire to instill some fear. And respect in the children.
You guys need to be disciplined or else this is going to happen.
One of the favorites is La Llorona, which is the woman who cries.
Right. Oh, I think I've heard about this one.
And she's walking around with her hair all wet, crying because all her children are gone.
Yeah.
And, you know, different parents tell the story differently and there are different traditions to it. But essentially, you build up the story like a ghost story and like, oh, and she's crying and she's looking.
She walks alone at night.
And she walks alone at night and you can hear her howling and you build up the story. And then you find out that she killed her kids.
Oh, jeez.
Like, why did she kill her? And you don't know why. And it's never really explained.
So basically, they tell that to the kids so they don't walk around at night.
Because she's trying to get new kids.
Ah.
She's trying to replace the kids that she killed.
See, I don't know if that's really smart or if that's really scary, but you know what? That is hilarious. And we have something like that as well. And I feel like elders do use these stories to kind of instill some discipline in kids. Well, it was a pleasure chatting with you, Mr. Panfilo. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed talking about this. I wish we could have had more time. I would love to continue on with this. Thank you so much for coming to Lincoln Corner, Peshawar. It was a pleasure to host you.